Good evening once again, YouTube. Hell's Unicorn here again. And I just wanted to share a little something with you. I've been a complete and utter hypocrite. You see, I've often shared with all of you my complete disdain for the mainstream news media. And yet, for some reason, I just can't seem to stop talking about them. And I guess part of the reason is because just about everybody I know still watches, regardless to how terrible it makes them feel, regardless to how often they catch the media in a lie. They just keep on watching. It's like a heroin addict that keeps going back for another fix, even though he knows he's committing suicide in the process. And over the course of the past several days, there's been a lot in the news about the earthquake in Haiti and all of the controversy surrounding the remarks of Pat Robertson. I'd like to kick off this little rant by saying I don't particularly like Pat Robertson or anybody else that's really associated with the charismatic evangelical movement. I believe that people like him are attempting to destroy Christianity, and within Protestant circles, he's doing a pretty good job of it. But I'm digressing here. The reason why I came here was to talk with you a little bit about my views regarding the current situation in Haiti. There's sort of a air of contention between a lot of us in America over the situation currently present in that country. And it's caused a lot of us to be hesitant to speak our minds on the subject, primarily because we don't want to come off as being insensitive. There was a similar sentiment in the aftermath of the Hurricane Katrina disaster. But I think at this point in time, we really need to try to pull ourselves away from this and be honest with ourselves. And one of the things that we need to begin with is analyzing the situation in its entirety rather than just focusing on congratulating ourselves on being good charity givers. Which, I mean, congratulating oneself for being charitable just to me comes off as boasting, and I tend not to be big on boasting, particularly when it comes to things that are ascribed as good works within the Christian faith, particularly when it's Christians that are doing it. But boasting seems to be the in thing to do right now. So I'm simply content to voice my disagreements and then leave it where it stands. But let's analyze Haiti for a minute, and let's sort of, in particular, focus on what it was that Pat Robertson actually said. He stated that the nation of Haiti had some sort of covenant with the devil, and that because of that, the island's basically been cursed. Now, the as expected reaction from most on the secular left side of the coin was, well, how dare he say anything negative about Haiti? Isn't this the same Pat Robertson who was predicting the end of the world in 1982? Well, before we go any further there, I will be the first to say to all of you that I think that Pat Robertson is a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. You know, there's a couple pickles missing from the burger also while we're on the topic. But anyway, I'm digressing yet again here. Does that mean that if he is wrong in one instance, that he's necessarily always wrong? Just like the old saying, the crack addict may be erratic, but if he calls the grass green, that doesn't make it not so. I think I just made that up actually, but anyway, that's besides the point. I was personally taken a bit aback by the statement because, quite frankly, I didn't know anything about it. Haiti is not really a country that's really high on my radar, probably because I don't live in Florida or Louisiana. But my initial reaction was, what in the heck is he talking about? So I jumped right onto Wikipedia and I began my search. typed in Haitian Revolution because I'm assuming that that's the place that you start with something like this. And lo and behold, there was a Haitian Revolution. Occurred in the late 18th century, 1791 to be exact, and it was led by various figures within the slave community in Haiti, African-born slaves, who were in turn led by a particular man, in this case a voodoo priest by the name of Duddy Boukman. I think that's how you pronounce his name, I'm not sure. And this particular man was brought over, I think, from Jamaica, and he was essentially a shaman. Now, for anyone who practices biblical Christianity, shamans have all kinds of gods with all kinds of names, but really, in the opinion of the Bible, they go back to one source, and it is not God. But, for the secular humanist / atheist on the left, that's not really it's not a sufficient explanation for saying the nation's in a pact with the devil. So obviously, a little further elucidation is necessary. So I will begin by reading some excerpts from the Wikipedia page dealing specifically with Duddy Boukman, the famed leader of the Haitian uprising.